This was on Deadline, and this was from April 16th, and it says that Universal and Amazing Entertainment team up for the Green Hornet and Kato feature. It says, and then this story is by Anthony D'Alessandro. Apologies if I'm saying it incorrectly, but it just says Universal Pictures and Amazing Entertainment are partnering on the Green Hornet and Kato, which is currently in featured development. It says Universal optioned the rights to the iconic characters first created by George W. Trindle and Fran Stryker in 1936, after Amazia co-founders Michael Helfand and Bradley Gallo took control of the motion picture franchise rights in a highly competitive bidding war back in January. Green Hornet was one of the early radio's most popular adventure shows, predating Superman, before being turned into 1940s movie serials from Universal. A 1966 TV series distributed by 20th Century Fox TV followed, introducing Bruce Lee, aka Kato, to the United States. The story centered around Britt Reed, owner-publisher of the Daily Sentinel. Armed with knowledge from his sources, cool weapons, and a supercar known as the Black Beauty, and teaming with his trusty aide Kato, Reed became the Green Hornet, a vigilante crime fighter, wanted by the police and feared by the criminal world. Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen adapted, executive produced, with the latter starring in a 2011 action comedy of the IP for Sony, which opened at number 1 at the MLK box office with 40 million and ultimately grossed close to 228 million worldwide. And that the Green Hornet film has actually just recently shown up actually on Netflix. Again, you can find more about this article over on Deadline. I just thought it was interesting that they're giving Green Hornet and Kato another spin. So that was kind of interesting.
I hope that they do a more serious take this time, because that was my biggest problem with the previous version. I think, Dave, you and I even talked off camera about this before. What really disappointed me with the most recent incarnation, the 2011 film you were just talking about, was I remember when they were talking about the whole idea, they were saying the central premise of that film was that Kato is cooler than the Green Hornet. And I was all like, you guys don't understand the Green Hornet at all. You know, I grew up knowing about the Green Hornet because my dad listened to the radio show. So my dad was a huge Green Hornet fan, and he was also a huge Lone Ranger fan. And a lot of people don't realize, because of that film, that the Green Hornet is a descendant of the Lone Ranger. He's a descendant of the Lone Ranger's brother. So he's like his, great grandnephew or something like that. And, that was not in the film at all, because, the Green Hornet's supposed to be like a modern version of the Lone Ranger. And, of course, Kato is supposed to be like his Tonto. And, of course, people remember the 60s series because Bruce Lee was in it. In fact, I actually have a version of that series that's it's a film version. In other words, they made a couple of the episodes into a film to market overseas for Bruce Lee fans, and I have the version of that in my personal collection. And I just always thought it was a terrible idea to kind of make the Green Hornet kind of a buffoon when that was never the intention. I actually was watching an episode of the 60s series one time. They were doing a marathon on decades, and I was watching it, and my daughter came up to me, who was 12 at the time. She comes up to me and she starts watching with me, and I explained to her the whole, who the Green Hornet was. That he was this, media magnate. That he was this media mogul, this person who owned a newspaper, and the way that he infiltrated criminal organizations was because he made it out like he was the bad guy, and he gave himself bad press. And because everybody thought he was a bad guy, he could more easily infiltrate criminal organizations and then basically, take over their plans. He could basically foil their plans. And she just thought that concept was brilliant. You know what I mean? She was like, that's really cool. And you really don't get that in the film at all, because again, they decided to make it an action comedy. So I'm just hoping that they're going to take a more serious take, because I think it's a really cool premise. And I'm not sure if Josh, if this was in reference to me, but you did say Me Too. Not sure if you're talking about your feelings about Green Hornet or something else that we were talking about. But yeah, and Man of Sand says that Green Hornet was also vaguely reminiscent of Batman. I believe Green Hornet predates Batman. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I believe the Green Hornet actually does predate Batman. Is that correct or not? Dave? I think Dave might be having some technical difficulties with his headphones.
Sorry about that. Can everyone hear me now?
I can hear you.
So
I thought the Green Hornet predated Batman.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It depends upon when the original short stories were published, and I'm not 100% certain on that. But a lot of these...
I know the Lone Ranger does. I know the Lone Ranger does. And
yes,
Lone Ranger
does.
Is the basis of Green Hornet. Green Hornet is supposed to be like a modern version of the Lone Ranger. I know that. Man of Sand says he's reminiscent of He is reminiscent of Batman in terms of they're both, you know, they're both rich and they're both don't have any superpowers. And what is it that you're showing right now?
Okay, so what I have running in the background for those people who've never seen it, if you search on YouTube, there was actually a French Green Hornet fan film that was made many years ago that's actually pretty cool. So I thought it would be funny to actually, well, not funny, I thought it'd be interesting for those of you who've not seen it. I thought, why not? Let's, you know, I would just let this run while we're talking about Green Hornet and Kato. But you can find it on YouTube if you're curious to check it out. So, but it's a fan film all about the Green Hornet. And this was actually, a lot of people are talking about how they actually enjoyed this fan film more than the Seth Rogen film. I didn't hate the Seth Rogen film, but it was kind of disheartening to see the Green Hornet not taken in a more serious manner. But yeah, for those that are curious, but it was a French-produced fan film. So.
Yeah, I am familiar with this. I do remember when it came out. I don't remember if I actually watched the whole thing or not, because this has been out quite a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, this has been out for quite some time. So,
yeah, so
I just thought it'd be fun to have on while we're talking about Green Hornet. So,
yeah, I think I may have seen it when it actually first came out, but I haven't seen it since. But again, you know, I think this one has a much more serious take than the 2011 film did, you know, which again made the Green Hornet just a buffoon. And I'm not sure if Joss is backing me up that Green Hornet is older than Batman or not, because he just said Green Hornet. So, but I'm pretty sure about that, because, you know, I can't be 100%. I know how old my dad is, and I know how old he would have been as a little kid. But when he was a little kid, you know, Batman was basically just coming out. So, if anything, they're pretty close together, I would say.
Yeah, I think they're pretty close together. But again, I'm not 100% certain. I mean, I could Google it here real quick. I mean, I know when Batman debuted, but I'm not 100% certain on the Green Hornet. I know that the Green Hornet has a second life because of Batman.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just trying to look it up just for my own peace of mind here. Says he was created in 1936.
Yeah, James actually just posted 1936, so it does look like Green Hornet actually does predate Batman. So there you go. There's your answer.
Yep. So I was right. See, every once in a while, I always say this. A broken clock is right twice a day. Always remember that. So.
All right. Well, very cool. Well, like I said, I just thought it'd be interesting to bring this up, that they're going to give Green Hornet another spin. I think the character's got tremendous potential, and more than we've seen so far. And I think a more serious take, I think could do quite well in today's current climate. The question would be whether or not they would do it sort of contemporary, or actually set it back in the past, because the Green Hornet was definitely more of a crime buster kind of guy. So be curious to see if they try to bring it again to the modern day, or if they would actually set it back in maybe the 40s. So be interesting to see what they decide to do with it.
I think
it could. It could.
I think you can make it work if you put it back, in the past. I think you could even go even farther than his creation and put him like in the Prohibition era or something like that if you wanted to. But he could definitely fit in today's world as well. I think it could work either way. I just want to make sure it's a serious take. That's all. But I think it could work either way. I've actually wanted to see. I've always thought it would be neat to have like a 50s Batman. You know what I mean, or a 50s Superman. You know what I mean? I always thought that would be kind of cool, but I don't think that'll ever happen in the current climate, especially at Warner Brothers. But I think it could work either way for Green Hornet.